I just seen this Half Price Books and it says also records on the top. So we're gonna see what kind of records they got in here. It's like a gold mine, maybe. Yo, we should, low key, we should see what he got on here. Yo, we're gonna need to come back here. This might be a spot to check out. We're gonna have to run multiple episodes in here. Just show all this. It's on the other side too, like this whole thing. Yeah, and that's just this first one. We got all these to go, so we'll be back and we'll have more. Welcome back to another episode of Can You Dig It, where we are getting back into the treasure trove that was Half Price Books. We haven't even scratched the surface of that location, but it excites me knowing the possibilities. First record we have is Joan Armatrading To The Limit, 1978. Then the first song is Barefoot and Pregnant. Hopefully that was just at the crib and not in any strenuous circumstances. But it said that words and music by Joan Armatrading. So this is her works of art. Oh yeah, and this is another one of those promotion copy, not for sale. So a lot of times these are like the release before the release. Again, the DJs get that from back then, and I'm guessing they still do that type of stuff now, but just not vinyl. That's why when you hear leaks pop up, leaks are planned a lot of times. That's their promotion. That didn't just get out. But let's see what we got on here. Side one.
So many ladies love me with the innocence of a child who believes in God.
Her pants should have gave it away.
You walk around.
Let's see what else we got on here. She threw us for the loop, huh? That's hard though. All right.
Remember when you took me out last night?
Let's go to side two. What in the last two episodes is going on here? All right, we might use that one, but let's see what else. All right, we got one more song, and if that don't work, we go into the first one.
I got used to feeling lonely.
I bet you did. All right, we're gonna use this one.
Keep on going, baby.
So what I'm gonna look for is some breaks in the vocals and kind of find pieces in between. Like right there, I'll take that little bit. All right, we're gonna run with that. All right, let's see what we can chop out this thing. All right, so when it's hard to find a lot of points in the record where there's no vocals or there's no singing, you can kind of follow the drums and chop at the drums when they're not. So I might not be able to get full pieces and full like loops or full measures, but I can compile enough clips and chops out of the singing stanzas or the verses or whatever and be able to piece those together. So that's what I'm gonna try to do here.
No, I've been saying there's something I have to prove.
So like this one, and then cut it before she comes in. All right, I think we got enough. Let's see what we can do. All right. I think today I'm gonna use this Launchpad Mini just as a pad controller, so I can have all the pads in one place, accessible without having to go up and down on my keyboard. All right, let's find a tempo, or let's tune it down, and then we'll find what tempo we want. Going. All right, that's too slow, but to find a tempo, as long as you recorded it in and the pads are quantized correctly, then you can speed up or slow down and make it fit. So as you can hear the gaps in it, I have to speed it up. So I went from 142 to 145, we still gotta go faster. 148. I'm gonna do 150. All right, that'll work. All right, let's see what drums we need. Drum time. It's my favorite time. All right, let's do hi-hats first this time. Good. All right. All right, let's get a snare popping. Let's add another hat, but this time I want one that rings out a little more. Let's see. All right. All right, I want it to sound more like wider, more spacey. So to do that, we're gonna use reverb. So reverb will increase the space. So think of a reverb as like, back in the day, like you had a room verb. They had like cathedral hall verbs. Those reverbs were based on like, say you put cathedral hall reverb on a vocal, right? That'd be the equivalent of being in a cathedral hall with a microphone recording from over here. You're catching all the room vibrations and bouncing off of you singing. So that's basically what they do when they recreate. They try to recreate those recording scenarios with a reverb. So we're gonna try and do that with this. I'm gonna use a crystalline reverb. See, now it sounds spaced out. I can open the width up. And then I can do an all wet signal. So you got a wet and a dry signal. The dry signal is when the sound is coming through with no effect on it. The wet signal is 100% effect. So when you have like a dry wet knob, you're trying to balance the mix of in between how much dry signal and how much wet signal. So this is the dry signal, which is only the original hi-hat sound. And then on the other end that's all the wet signal. So we're gonna try and go a little less and blend. We'll start at the 100% wet and then try and dial it over. And then I can change the size. And what that sounds like in the mix now is because I just wanted it underneath in the back. So think about reverb is when you put reverb on a sound, it'll push it further back in the mix, like depth wise. That's how I like to look at reverb. But right. That is Joan Armatrading, To the Limit. All right, next we got Marrying Maiden. It's a Beautiful Day. The cover's kind of dope. Hold up. Let's see what they're working with though. All right, start with side one. All right, so on here they got a it looks like a flugelhorn. It looks like they got a damn Ouija board, and they got a hold down fiddle. It is called Waiting for the Song, but we're not waiting. We'll just go to the song. I feel you. Let your woman flow, dog. We actually might use that. Whoa, we're not doing no harmonicas. No.
A man sat on his roof and looked at the stars.
What? Well, that man can shut up. We about to record that in now. Let's get it. That is something though about like, no matter how good or bad you feel the music is of back then, they still took their time to record an analog. Like, you had to sit there and record everything and redub over everything, and if you're making edits you got to cut tape. Like, it was a way more time consuming process and took way more resources. So even if some of the music might not be my cup of tea or my type of vibe per se, I can still respect the craft and the fact of how much time it took to make this thing. Well, let's see what we can cook up with this. All right, let's chop this thing up.
A man.
All right, and that's where we cut him out. Now we'll delete that. I think we got enough. Let's use this controller again. We might not have to, let's speed it up a little bit. Now we'll go down to all right, let's try this. That is extra loud. Let's turn that down. Or turn this up. Alright. Hey. Alright, let's get a hi-hat popping. I hear some vocalist on here in my head. Let's see if I can add the right things to keep that vibe on. Hey, let me get a kick. Hear another hi-hat. Let's try that. Alright, hold on. So again, I'm not the greatest at knowing what the song key is, so I'm gonna go to auto key. So it's G flat major or E flat minor, which is the relative minor. So pull this out. Let's see. The hard part gets to finding out what instrument am I hearing in my head. All right, let's add a bass first. And the lovely thing about AutoKey is AutoKey has a feature where you can just press these keys right here, and it'll show you the keys on the keyboard to use it in this song key. So a little higher octave. Record that in, and I'm gonna make sure I take off quantize because I don't want the notes to stick. Here we go. Then I'll go into here just in case there might be bass notes conflicting in the sample. I'm gonna cut them out quick. And then I'll cut any of the highs out of the bass. Kind of blend it in. Alright. It's got some highs in there, so we'll cut these out. Let's try one more thing before. Alright, so sometimes if you say you don't have a melody or anything in your head and you just want to add things, for instance, I'll just go to, I'll clear this, and then I'll add this Moog plugin called Animoog, and then in this I can go to the presets, and I'll just search for pads. that over. And now I got a little layer underneath. I can add some more reverb to that, like we learned on the last beat. Space it out a little bit, but I think we got a beautiful start here. And that was Marrying Maiden. I found, I didn't think I was gonna make this feel off of this record, but you never know unless you try. All right, we have Mountain Melodies, the singing dulcimer of Worley Gardner. I got this one just because of the instrument, the dulcimer. Never sampled that. I love the sound of it, but this also says mountain melodies. What kind of mountains? But this is tunes of the Appalachians, so this could be moonshine music. Moonshine music. But you don't know yet until we find out right now. But the dulcimer is it's a box-looking thing with strings, a box-looking instrument. Looks like a box harp of sorts, but it sounds like wind chimes. All right. Hey, it's only track 1 and we got 14 of these. We're gonna find something. Because I can slow it down too. All right, let's keep it going and see what's popping. Oh, it says leather breeches. I totally thought it said something else. But he got a song about leather pants? That's wild. See what happens when I get excited just for an instrument? All right, that's not true. It's just the type of instrument. And really the region, it's the Appalachians, right? What did I think was gonna happen? I don't know. I don't even have to keep going. I heard it coming. You hear it coming in the distance like, nah, we're out of here. This is definitely moonshine music. No. 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 Is it the same song? They literally sound like the same song. If it was a minor key, it would have actually worked. All right, we're doing that. Because I think if I slow it down, I can get something out of it. All right, that's saved in now. All right, we don't want that part, so we'll delete that slice. All right, so I learned with this controller right here. So I can slice to single layer, which will put this on the keys, right? And which key I want it to start on. I usually started as far to the left as I could on the keyboard or like the pad settings so I could fit more samples on there. When I'm using this is C1. It starts at C1. So if I put samples on like C0 or negative C2, that's down here, which doesn't exist on this controller. And I'm using the iPad. I don't have a MIDI. I'm not able to customize that for some reason. If you know how, drop it down below and let me know. Reach out, but for right now, I figured out I can put it on C1 and then it'll start on the first pad. And we'll slow this far down. Let's start at 8. Farther. All right, let's see if we can go sped up then. And then all right, let me start with just some drums to work on. So sometimes if you're having a hard time finding a pattern for your sample chops, you can start with drums. I usually don't have a hard time hearing what I want to use, but this is one of those times where I'm going to start with some drums. I might change the drums, but I'm going to just start with this. Find out what key this is, and find a bass. F sharp minor, let's see what the keys are. All right, let me find a different bass real quick. Do one more time. All right, let me get a damn snare. And then with this, I got a plugin that's real quick, where it does crazy stuff to the sample. This is called Cosmonaut Space Explorer. And it puts it in a wild space using different delays. All right, that was Mountain Melodies by Worley Gardner. Sometimes it's a struggle, but that's all right, because you get to challenge yourself, you get to find new sounds, and it's all about, can you dig it?